Liz, good day. How are you?
G'day, Doug. Nice to see you. Very well, thanks.
You and I think, share the same idea. Just in the last couple of years, how sophisticated brands are seeing podcasts and where they fit in their communication or marketing scheme is different than where it was just 24 months ago. They're seeing them how? How has that perception changed?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing it. It's like a transition that we're in for sure. But I feel like in the last 6 months, it's been even steeper, that change.
In the last 6 months, okay.
I think so. And because the conversations we're having with brands, and also I was at South by Southwest Sydney, and there was a couple of panels where some high-end brands were talking. And they're really talking about an understanding that a podcast can bring high-value content to an audience, and it's an opportunity to share your values, to share your purpose, to share what your company is about beyond just the immediate sales piece. And that connection is so much more valuable. So, I mean, let's say look at mountain biking. Okay, it's a good example. It's very popular here in Australia. I'm guessing there's probably a reasonable amount of it happening in Canada as well, is there?
Like in the mountains
biking,
where I am, for sure.
So trendy, right? So, if you've got like a podcast that's specifically for a really strong mountain biking community, and let's say it's parents and kids who are doing it together, it's their weekend, it's their love time, and they're listening to a podcast on the way to the biggest adventure of their year, and that podcast gets them and it talks to them, and you might get 10,000 listeners, right? You're quite specific. You're going, this is for a family who mountain bikes together. But those 10,000 listeners love you. They're grateful to you. You're delivering them something of great value. And I just think that I've now come across like a few conversations where there are certain high-end brands or brands with marketing teams that have that knowledge, that instead of going, how many clicks can we get? How many listens can we get? It was always the first two questions were always, how much does a podcast cost?
Right.
It's kind of an unanswerable question, but a fair question.
What do you want?
It's a fair question for someone to ask, but it's almost a question that's impossible to answer without a series of questions.
Mm-hmm.
And how many listens can you guarantee we'll get? Whereas I feel like now there's this other piece in the conversation that's happening that I don't think was happening before, which is how can you help us to create something that is a real connection with an audience, a really valuable piece of content. And so we've actually had in the last, I would say in the last month, I've had 3 or 4 organisations or brands, not-for-profit kind of different sectors, come to me and say, we want to make a high-end documentary podcast. We don't want a Diary of a CEO, Joe Rogan chat YouTube piece. We want something that's really a deep dive, a deep connection with our audience that's values-based.
Good sound design to it, theater of the mind kind of audio. Yeah.
Yeah. And we still have clients that are doing a lot of like the really quick turnaround chat podcasts, and there's a real value to those as well. Like, let's not say they're not important and an important part of the market.
Yeah.
But I would say, like a year ago, I was thinking of documentary podcasts. Are we ever going to see them again? Like, they've gone, like Serial is over, And it just feels like there are these brands that have funding that are kind of actually going, we want to sponsor and be part of this high value content. Yeah.
Let me play a little devil's advocate here.
Love
Maybe I'd rather spend my money on video. Everybody's doing video. Everything's YouTube. Is it going to be on YouTube? Do you hear that a lot?
Yeah. And I was just writing an email just then to a client about that. Like, basically, my response to that is, you can't make a podcast without considering video. You need to have a conscious conversation to go, is video relevant to this audience?
Right.
Does video work with our budget? Is is video, how does video fit? So if you're making a documentary podcast, and we've done this before, you can do all the documentary audio and the depth and stuff, and then just do some pull away video interviews. It's like you do the big, deep, interview, and then you do like a 3-minute video piece to camera, or even a 5-minute video piece to camera. That can still be going on YouTube, can still be going on TikTok, because we know that video is important for discoverability.
That's the key point. That's the key point in that discussion. People, yes, they are watching podcasts and listening to podcasts on YouTube. I'm not debating that. But they do not listen or watch nearly as long as they will within Apple, Spotify, Castbox, Overcast, any of the listening apps. And that's what makes these two things fundamentally different.
Fundamentally different and really powerful partners. At South by Southwest, I interviewed Steve. Now his surname's gone, but the head of podcasting for YouTube. Oh. And he talked about like some of their biggest podcasts. There's a history podcast in particular that literally just puts up the thumbnail with the audio on YouTube. Hugely successful on YouTube. So, you still can be having a YouTube presence. We do know, like, there's a whole series of issues with video. If you don't do it right, what you're delivering is not valuable. You just make yourself look bad. You've got to do it well. That does add a lot more budget if you're doing it well, or some more budget, depending on how it happens. But also, particularly for women, there is a piece around video, an expectation of how you look. And I do think that is more challenging for women, like when I'm I've worked with a couple of really high profile women, and they know that they're going to get slammed if they don't. Yeah. And
people won't hear what they've said because their hair is a certain way, or they wore that red blazer or whatever.
Exactly. Plus, there's also a couple of higher-end clients I've got who like doing their recording in their bedroom because, when I've talked to them, like, you need somewhere where there's carpet, you need somewhere where there's soft furnishings. Yeah, you need to be able to close a curtain. You want that intimacy. It's the best room in their house. We've got a lot of open plan houses now. Like, there's not a lot of quiet rooms. So you don't want to be filming in your... Not everyone has an office like this. You don't want to be filming in your bedroom. So sometimes there's practical reasons you can't do video, and that's fine.
So the audio podcast, as we said off the top, brands are starting to realize, sophisticated brands are realizing it's a way of going deep. It's a way of building deep layers of trust that sales and promotions can't do, that marketing tactics designed for impressions and clicks, they can't do it either because people are not spending more than a few seconds with your stuff. Even your newsletter. Nobody spends longer than 20 seconds, 30 seconds with your newsletter, just, to be realistic. But audio can take you deeper. Why bother? If I'm getting fewer people, and if sales is all about, not everything is sales, but if sales or convincing people of something is really just a numbers game and I need to get as many people into the funnel as possible, why bother with a tactic that has a cost to it where I get fewer people into the funnel just to take them deeper down the trust pathway? Why bother at all?
Well, they become your super fans, right? And
your evangelists, yes.
Yeah. So it's not, you remember when like social media marketing first started and there was the whole piece around you want the super users on social media. It was the person who, in those days, it was Facebook and Twitter, right? And they're the people, you don't need to connect with 10,000 people on Facebook. This is the, 2013, 2014 kind of model, right? You just need to find those super users and they will connect with their tens of thousands. And that's kind of now just organic thinking. We that's how we think all the time. Influencers. You want an influencer to be supporting. These are your natural influencers. They're human influencers that other people are. We know that your neighbour you're both watering your lawn and you're standing there or whatever, pruning your trees, and you bump into each other and they go, oh, we had a hailstorm. How was your insurer? And that conversation around which insurer you should use because that one dealt better with the hailstorm is so much more impactful than a TV ad. Well, it kind of works like that with a podcast. It's like, I suddenly now really trust this brand. I'm going to tell people about it at Christmas. I'm going to talk about it when I'm volunteering at the Surf Lifesaving Club. I'm very Australian today. But, all these, they're your super users. And we also, I think the other piece that's really interesting, a piece of research that I use a lot when I'm talking with brands it came out last year or early this year, and it was American podcast listeners who are committed podcast listeners, and they said that they feel grateful to the brands that fully sponsor their content. So not the ad that's thrown in by Acast randomly that doesn't have any connection to the content, but this podcast was brought to you. Say Lemonada does this a lot, right? They'll have a very well value-aligned sponsor connected to that piece of content, and you know that there's a relationship there. It's really clear that host read ads. People are grateful to that. How much is gratitude worth for a not-for-profit or a brand or an organisation or a government? I mean, how valuable is gratitude? Where else do you ever get gratitude?
People start to associate you with a good feeling, and that's kind of what marketing is all about.
Yeah, that's right. And, some of the really amazing ads, I think if you look over your lifetime, you can probably think of 5 or 10 TV ads that kind of have done that, right?
Well, they made me laugh, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
They probably made me laugh.
Even cry, like the Nike ads.
Cry? Sure,
there's
an
been,
emotion.
I think, hasn't been seen it for a while, but Coke used to do like some exceptional TV ads that really were capturing moments in time.
Buy the world
Nike
of Coke and keep it company, and yeah.
Nike, the women's sports stuff that they've done has been really impressive. So it can happen in TV ads, but how much does that cost?
A lot.
How much is that Nike ad campaign costing? Yeah.
Awesome. Liz, I really appreciate your time. It's December, so you and I have different days planned. I'm going to go get the snowblower and put my toque on and my winter gear. And your day, you are...
I'm about to go and jump in the ocean and have a bit of a swim.
You're headed to the beach. Right.
Headed to the beach.
The world has flipped.
Thinking I might fit December. In two swims today, potentially. Yeah. Sorry, Doug.
I'll wear 2 toques. Thanks for your time.
Perfect.